Welcome back to our podcast at AIX. My guest today is Shahsib Naeem. He's from Abu Dhabi. He had a different pronunciation for Abu Dhabi. It was which?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi, but it's Abu Dhabi for the rest of us. So very happy to have him here. Shahsib, please start with a few words about yourself. He warned me if I ask him this, he will start in kindergarten. It will be a very long story. So try to make it not longer than 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, 2 minutes does the trick. Yeah, so a few words about myself is that, I grew up in a place not too far away from here, which is Jumeirah, Satwa.
Mm-hmm.
At a time when the UAE was starting to evolve itself, right? So all these buildings weren't there and, things were starting to, go towards the rise. And in fact, I went to a school close by there as well in Udmetha. And of course, the name of the school keeps changing. So it was English Language School at the time. I don't know what it exactly is at this time. But if you talk about the background there, we used to have these phones of Nokia phones at that time.
Yes.
And they came up with this voice recording feature.
The small one or the big one?
Well, the small ones. I mean, I'm not that.
Because first I had a big one and then they became smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
eventually I had a phone like this, which I could hardly hold in my hand.
Absolutely.
And then they became bigger again.
And they had Bluetooth, which was an amazing thing. It used to take, I think, a lot of minutes or maybe even hours to actually transfer a file from one to another. And so I used to have a lot of knack of, doing this, getting to all this kind of stuff. And then came the Motorola phone, the flip phone, which was one of its kind at the
Hello
time.
Moto.
Hello Moto, pick up the phone, From there, my first smartphone was the Samsung Wave 525. And it used to have the OS Bada, which probably none of you know about, or maybe some of the enthusiasts would know. But essentially, that's where my journey really started. I wanted to change the software. But because it wasn't available in the UAE region, so I had to use a different technique, get the software manually on my laptop and, then install it, And then from there, I, continued my education and things kept going from there. At the same time, I was so interested in tech that I couldn't get my hands on an S3, Galaxy S3 at the time, which used to have those Pebble voices and the Pebble, wallpaper in the beginning. But I got a Galaxy S Plus of all the things. And I wanted to put the software of the Galaxy S3 into the Galaxy S Plus, right? Which I managed to do by somehow, almost killing my phones and things like that. And I used to, what I used to do is, I used to go and sell my older phones because I wanted to have the newest phone.
Yeah.
To do that, my parents wouldn't just allow me to keep, spending money. So I used to, at a very young age, bargain. And, I was good at communication, explaining people the features and selling things to them. So I was like, you know what? This is the phone. And, they used to buy the phone for me. I used to buy a new one. Fast forward from that, then I decided to do my bachelor's, which was, interestingly enough, I wanted to do mechanical engineering, which is completely different from the tech side. And the reason was because my brother was doing mechanical engineering. So come on now, it's a no-brainer. However, when I actually, started my bachelor's, I sat in a class of electrical engineering where I saw coding and I fell in love with it. And I was like, you know what, let's go. And essentially from there and then on, came the time for the COVID where I discovered, courses related to AI, and I always wanted to figure out, how do computers think the same way as humans, right?
When was the first time that you heard about AI, that you heard about this phrase, or that you said, this is great, I want to do something in this area?
Honestly, at that time, which is, we're speaking 2018 or so, it wasn't the biggest thing in the world, AI. So I heard about it about the same time as I entered my bachelor's, honestly. And I started hearing about it related to, mechatronics engineering. So you have essentially a mixture of computer engineering with mechanical engineering or something of that sort. That's where I started hearing about it. And then, of course, from there, I worked as an AI engineer and then at a startup. And then I came here to AUS, where, in Sharjah, I'm working, American University of Sharjah, where I'm working as an AI researcher, you can say, and, working on research related to the latest and greatest, hopefully.
So what if you're an AI researcher, so what does it mean? What you are, for example, researching in the moment when it comes to AI?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to do, So keeping the resources we have in mind at a university level, we're trying to do, work on cutting edge technology. So you have things like the sign language deepfakes, which I started off, working on the research. And again, my skills weren't the most developed in the beginning. So I used to, basically what I used to do is take these images of people and try to move their hands. So to start from an image, I'm trying to create videos here.
So what do you mean? There was a photo of someone, and then the photo moved. The hand was
the hands.
Okay.
So we call these pose-guided models.
Yes.
That's what you call these models. However, of course, to go from there, you have to reach the videos, and I was able to do a lot of stuff, and with my professor, we were able to figure it out. Hopefully the paper gets published. It's in process, but you guys can already go and see it up on my GitHub. S9M is my GitHub. You can check it out.
What is it called?
S9M.
Okay.
SNAEEM and M again. So that's essentially about it. Currently, I'm working on research where I'm trying to differentiate or try to find similarities between real images, fake images, which are deepfakes, so essentially his face on mine, or mine on his, and then of course synthetic images, which are completely computer-generated images. And again, the reason you
which for human beings are impossible to differentiate. Huh?
Exactly.
So basically, you are now implementing AI to tell us what is fake and what is real.
No, that is just a part of it. I'm trying to understand how good are machines at differentiating between these three types of classes, and how good are humans as well. So my first paper was completely about machines, about all the machine learning models and things of that sort, right? It got published as well in a conference in Turkey. But then now we're trying to actually, we conducted surveys on humans to see how they would do, and are there similarities between how a machine looks at this and how a human looks, or are there complete differences, right? So it's something interesting. That's about it.
Amazing.
It's a bit of a long background right there.
Yeah. So where do you, for your research, what you are, or let's say what you are going to do in the future, where do you see for yourself or for your future work the biggest interest in AI, the areas which you want to implement or where you want to be active in?
If you talk about an ideal world, I would want to create sign language videos just by giving a prompt to a large language model like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or anything of that sort of nature. Gemini, Google's Gemini also. But then, that's an ideal world. I don't know if we can reach there anytime soon, because that's asking a lot, at this point. But essentially, I would say, anything to do with large language models, right, would be great. Being able to create presentations directly, for example, would be awesome, right? Right now, okay, there are AI features. You can, of course, use all these features, large language models, to give you the bullet points for a slide. But again, they're not able to make the entire slide for you.
Yeah, that would be
I think
great.
that would be a next step. That would be really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you can have millions of consultants and companies. They would be so happy about this because I come from consulting. I've been working there 25 years, and I think 70% of your time you do PowerPoint presentations.
Exactly. You have to sell everything you do.
So if you have a possibility to really that you just you tell it in the microphone ideally what you want to have, or you are sitting in a meeting, you are discussing this with the customer, and you leave the meeting and the PowerPoint is ready. That would be really awesome. Huh?
Yeah, so something where you would...
it will be bad for consulting companies because they lose, I think, 60% of their employees. But it will give so much more... it will make them so much more advanced because you don't need to spend this time for this. You can directly go to the result.
Exactly, but I feel like one of the things is that I would want to, it should be something wherein you just talk directly to the, you don't just type. Typing is hard, let's make it easy. You can just tell everything by voice, and then it gets everything done for you. But you talked about the fact that 60% of the consultants will lose their jobs or whatever. But I feel like people adapt and people change.
Well, of course, that's what I said in the same second. They would probably not be needed anymore, but in the same time, you are so much faster with the results. So while you are selling one project now and you need 1 year for this, you can do it in 3 months and you can do the next one. So I think with the same amount of people, you can do much more, and there will be much more knowledge coming.
Yes, for sure. So but I mean, of course, there are those people who do not want to adapt. That would be interesting. There are so many of those still out there, guys. So
no, of course. I mean, this was always like this in history also. Yeah? But of course, in AI, it is definitely still the case that there are, especially when you look into companies, that there are hundreds of reasons why they don't want to use AI. And this is definitely...
There's the ethical concern, of course.
Yes.
The ethical dilemma we're in. Accessing people's data, is that really something ethical? Even after all the terms and conditions that people see, they don't read those and they just accept it. So are you happy with that? And of course, the concerns where you have societal concerns, where you could use AI for political unrest and things of that sort, which is already happened actually, but it's only getting better. The deepfake technology,
of course,
the wise deepfakes and the video deepfakes. So it's interesting.
How is this in the UAE? Because you read a lot that the government is doing a lot to basically push AI and become really an important country when it comes to AI in the whole world. So a lot of initiatives are starting here in the UAE. How do you see it from the companies? So on the one hand, you have the government who is doing a lot of organizations and doing a lot of great projects for AI. But on the other hand, do you have the feeling that the companies are also following, that they are also doing this, or are they lacking behind as in many other countries?
I think they're, the government is trying to push as hard as they can, and not only just push it, they're trying to create the policies as they go along, right? So as the development happens, they're trying to, create the policies. But as for the companies, I feel like definitely the government is much ahead of the country, given that the fact that they have the revenue and the budget to just go for it. Companies, I feel like there is still, this is very clear in the sense that a lot of companies still are essentially using people for the technical part. I think is where companies are struggling, wherein they are not sure as to what aspect of AI or what application of AI are they supposed to use for their for their success. So maybe they just go too complicated, wherein they try to hire people who are completely technical, who don't have the passion to learn non-technical things and a new field wherein for example they're trying to adapt to oil and gas or real estate, things like that. I mean, people who want to basically play both sides of the field. You need those kind of people. I think companies are lacking in that regard in one aspect. The other aspect, they're just lacking in it in the sense that they just want to avoid AI as a whole itself. So I think these are the things, but the government is definitely, pushing it, and the companies will eventually definitely have to go with it,
Yeah, I agree. How is it for you personally? It's now nearly 2 years that ChatGPT came on the market.
It's a life changer.
What are your, let's say, favorite use cases when it comes to AI? But if you have to name 3-4 use cases for your private life where you could not imagine to be with AI anymore?
Okay, that's a bit of a tough question.
So Gen AI.
If you talk about the beginning, there are some basic things that ChatGPT can now do for you, which you would have to, you needed a long time to get done before. So for example, if you talk about a simple process wherein you are going to read a video or an image on your laptop and you want to code this. Before, you had to do it yourself, you had to look up websites, and there used to be a lot of problems with videos wherein, the codec or the file format of the video would create a lot of havoc between the webcam and, between the actual code and stuff. Now you don't have to do all that. All you have to do is tell ChatGPT the file name and what do you exactly want. You just get that code. So where I used to take, you could say 1 hour to implement something before, I can implement that right now in 2-3 minutes. Doesn't take much time. So that's one of the cases where I would think, honestly, creativity is one place where AI helps me a lot, and I think I can't live without it anymore, because where my mind stops is where the mind of AI generally begins. Not in all things, but in a lot of things. I'm not saying that you have to essentially do exactly what the AI model is telling you, but you're able to come up with many much better stuff using the AI tools. I think that's where I definitely feel like it helps me a lot. I can't really live without it. And honestly, as a whole, coding these days, I rely on it personally a lot, because I don't feel like I need to spend that much time in doing something complicated. Well, I know I can do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and focus on the end goal, which is to see the insights I'm getting using this particular machine learning model or AI tool, right? That's the end goal, and that's where I think you need to focus on, right? So that's one of the things.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes to tools, I think everyone knows ChatGPT, but there are thousands of other tools.
Yeah.
Are you using any other tools next to ChatGPT where you are really fan of, which you would also like others to know and you would recommend to them?
Yeah, for sure. Google's Gemini is one of them, which is, again, they all have their strengths. I would say ChatGPT is one of the best in terms of the coding itself, in my opinion. Again, it could be different. Maybe your niche is different than me, but use case. But again, Gemini is one which I feel like really helps a lot in terms of the the communication side of things. Microsoft Copilot is good.
So if you for me to understand again the difference between ChatGPT and Gemini, If I want to write a letter, I think everyone uses ChatGPT,
because
but
it's most
Gemini
common.
could also do. So what is the specific use case you would use Gemini for, but not ChatGPT?
I think personally, if I want something creative, or if I want for something in bullet points, I would go for Gemini. I feel like it has a better use case in that regard.
Okay.
In terms of the English side of things, but in terms of the actual coding part, I think ChatGPT is better. Now they could be similar as well, but I feel like Gemini is better in this. And there's also, of course, Microsoft Copilot, if you've heard of that.
Yes, of course.
I haven't had the best experience with it, honestly. It does help you, but again, it's good. And you also have something called Claude AI. I used to use that as well. Again, there's so many tools. Just use whichever one works for you, and you're good to go. Essentially, all of them have a similar backbone, wherein they're all trying to use, different forms of different transformer models, right? And again, they get better, not just because of the actual transformer model becoming better, but of course because now they're able to take in much more user data. So all the data you put in, of course, is going somewhere. It's going to the actual model. It's learning more, becoming more human, and things like that.
What's your personal? I mean, you talked about Gemini, Copilot, and ChatGPT, which are the major tools on the market. But there are 10,000s of small tools coming every day, and probably leaving also very soon again. Do you think these tools are needed, or do you think that with the Gemini and ChatGPT you can basically do everything what's coming in the future?
No, I don't think you can do, unless they evolve. I don't think they can do everything you need. So for example, the things we talked about in the beginning, where we're talking about being able to generate presentations straight away. I think work is being done on this, but again, it's not been done completely.
So for this, a separate tool will be needed, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Or you could
which is hopefully coming from yourself, yeah?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, let's see. Personally, if I talk about myself, at the moment, I'm leaning towards being someone who has that technical background, is able to understand the things, but also someone who is able to, excel in the non-technical side of things. So I want something, I want to do something in the future where I'm in the middle, something like, for example, a position like data analyst, where you are behind the computer, but then you're in the front as well, a business analyst, So something like that, not necessarily in that niche, something else, using perhaps AI for sales, marketing, things like that. So that's how I look at it. I don't know if I'm going to be working that deep into it, but it's something for sure. Like it's going to change the world, right? Being able to do the presentations, I think. The interesting thing, let's talk about that. I don't know if that's on the agenda, but the kids these days, they are definitely more intelligent than we were at the same age.
Of course, yeah.
You could think that they are dumber because of the fact that they're using all these tools and they have computers way before us. But
they are more lazy, but they know why they are lazy, because they can use the technology and they don't need to do that much.
Exactly, they're using it. So they've learned the art of efficiency in simple terms.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting more smart for sure. Smarter, yeah.
How do you think this will develop for the future? If you look 5 years ahead, do you think there's every 6 months a new innovation coming on the market, or this will slow down, this will even speed up, or how do you think the future will look like when it comes especially to Gen AI?
So I'm not as optimistic as everyone else out there. I think, of course, there's going to be a crazy amount of evolution. However, these LLM models are going to become much better. ChatGPT, all of them, generative AI, deepfakes are going to become better. Voice deepfakes and things like that. But what I think is there is going to be resistance now, because it's coming to a point where data is just so easily accessible for all these companies that people are eventually going to start taking notice. I feel like it, and governments are going to start taking notice, because not just from the point of view where the average human being is much more susceptible or vulnerable to their data being taken by anyone, and the fact that they're insecure about that. At the same time, I would think that the malicious use of AI that can happen as things keep becoming more and more perfect, right? Especially in terms of the deepfakes and the voice-over deepfakes and things like that. The humanization factor of AI is so good. At the same time, because of its dangerous uses, I think there's going to be some resistance.
Okay, so there will be more and more legislation,
I think
which is in a certain way breaking development down, so that there needs to be some legislative surrounding. And once this is done, then it can grow again.
Yeah, it could be a problem for the open source market, in the sense that people may not be allowed to just start working on anything they feel like, openly on their own. Right? that it likely wouldn't stop, but there could be, restrictions that could start coming to place wherein there are laws what you can practice in certain country and things like that. But aside from that, things are going to go up, but I think there is going to be this resistance coming to play, which would be an interesting turn. I feel like, I may be pessimistic, but then again, this is my opinion.
You see that more and more governments, especially the European Union, US and so on, that they are working on initiatives because they need to somehow control it more.
Yeah, absolutely, it has to be done because everything is like a knife in this world. There's the good part of it where you can just use it for your own benefit, or you can hurt people with it. So I think it's a similar thing with AI. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it was a wonderful talk with you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And I hope we see you soon again for another interview, maybe also a bit more specific, that you show us some of the research you are doing.
Yeah.
That would be very exciting and very interesting.
That'd be great.
Thanks a lot for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
I'm sure you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And if you like videos like this, you should subscribe the channel, switch on the notification bell, because more or less every day we will upload videos like this with other experts of AIX. We already have more than 100 experts on our platform. And if you want to get to know them, if you want to get to know their opinion, you should come on this channel where you will see all those experts in interviews with me or with other co-founders of AIX. So see you very soon in one of our next videos.